Blockbuster rejects Netflix in 2000. Blockbuster was king. Then a tiny startup showed up. Netflix offered to sell itself for $50 million. At first, it was a comedy show. The Blockbuster CEO laughed them out of the room. DVDs by mail were a niche joke. Late fees were his superpower. It was a dinosaur laughing at a tiny furry mammal. Who would wait 2 days for a movie? Then reality hit. The niche joke ate Blockbuster's lunch. Netflix killed late fees. Blockbuster tried to copy them. Too slow. By 2010, the king was bankrupt. Today, Netflix is worth $300 billion. There's one Blockbuster left. An Airbnb in Oregon. They didn't fail because movies died. They failed because they laughed at the future until it ran them over. But our next giant actually invented the future of photos, then tried to bury it in the backyard. Kodak's digital denial. In 1975, Kodak owned every family photo in America. They were the Kodak moment, and an engineer invented the world's first digital camera. It was the size of a toaster. It was the future. At first, the bosses were terrified. They saw a threat. Kodak made billions selling chemicals and paper. Digital cameras didn't need paper, so they told the engineer to hide it. Don't tell anyone. Like a candle maker hiding the light bulb. Then reality hit. You can't hide the future forever. Sony and Canon launched digital cameras. Kodak stayed loyal to the darkroom until the lights went out. In 2012, the giant went bankrupt. They didn't fail from lack of tech. They failed trying to stop a waterfall with a paper cup. Kodak tried to delete the future to save their paper business, but wait until you see the phone king who thought a screen was just a fad. A Nokia collapse. In 2007, Nokia was king. They owned 50% of the smartphone market. Every second phone sold was a Nokia, famous for the indestructible brick. If you dropped one, you checked the floor for cracks. Then Steve Jobs walked on stage with a piece of glass. At first, they laughed at the toy. Engineers mocked the iPhone for no buttons. Weak battery, fragile screen. They ignored the magic of software. They thought people wanted a tool. Apple knew people wanted a lifestyle. Then reality hit. While Nokia perfected Snake, the world moved to apps. The fragile toy ate the industry. Nokia tried to catch up, too slow. Market share crashed to 3%. They sold the empire for pennies. They failed because they were too tough to be smart. Nokia ignored the screen to save their buttons, but this next giant could have owned the entire internet for a few $1 million, and they said no twice. Yahoo rejects buying Google. And in 1998, Yahoo was king. 2 college kids offered a tiny project. Google. Price $1 million. Yahoo said no. They didn't want their own killer. They thought they were geniuses. At first, they felt smart. Yahoo wanted you to click ads for diet pills. Google gave answers and let you leave instantly. Yahoo wanted a trap, like a taxi driver refusing a jet. They mocked simplicity over genius. Then reality hit. By 2002, Google was eating the internet. Yahoo offered $3 billion. Google said $5 billion. Yahoo laughed and walked away. It's like rejecting a lottery ticket because of the font. They didn't fail because they were poor. They failed because they were too smart for their own good. Yahoo was too greedy to buy the search engine of the future, but our next giant actually invented the modern computer, then gave it away for free. Xerox ignores personal computers. In the 1970s, Xerox ruled the office. They built a playground for geniuses. Engineers invented the first mouse, the first Windows, a computer anyone could use. At first, bosses didn't get it. They saw toys. They sold giant copiers. They didn't think anyone wanted personal computers. They showed everything to Steve Jobs for free. Like a diamond miner giving away a map, even the janitors could see the future. Then reality hit. Jobs built the Macintosh. Gates built Windows. Xerox kept making copiers, too busy selling paper. By the time they realized, it was too late. They didn't fail from lack of creativity. They failed from ignoring the future. The world moved on. Xerox stayed in the office. Xerox built the future and handed it to Apple for free. But our next giant had the entire world using their software, until they laughed at a phone that didn't have a keyboard. Microsoft misses mobile. In the early 2000s, Microsoft was king. Windows ran on 90% of every computer. They were untouchable. Then, in 2007, the iPhone arrived. CEO Steve Ballmer went on camera. He literally laughed. At first, they thought it was a joke. $500 for a phone? Ballmer mocked the lack of a keyboard. He called it a toy for rich kids. Microsoft protected the desktop. They forgot the future lives in your pocket, and then reality hit. The iPhone changed human behavior. Google launched Android and took the rest. Microsoft tried to catch up. They were like a grandpa in skinny jeans, $7 billion on Nokia. They lost the mobile war. They didn't fail because they were poor. They failed because they laughed until the joke was on them. Microsoft laughed at the phone of the future, but our next giant was so obsessed with stock prices that they ignored the one thing that kept them in the air. Boeing ignores safety warnings. In the 1990s, Boeing was the gold standard, run by engineers obsessed over every bolt. If it isn't Boeing, I'm not going. Then they merged with a rival. Suits took over the cockpit. Safety became secondary to stock prices. At first, the math looked beautiful, saved billions by modifying old planes. Rushed, the 737 MAX hid new software from the pilots to save on training costs. Executives got huge bonuses. Stock hit an all-time high. They thought they had cheated the system. Then reality hit. You can't hide gravity. 2 planes crashed, 346 people died. The fleet was grounded, doors blew off midair. The gold standard became a global punchline. $20 billion in fines. They didn't fail from lost talent. They failed because they tried to fly a spreadsheet. Boeing gambled with safety to save their stock, but our next giant decided to delete the one thing their users actually came for and watch 30% of their traffic vanish overnight. Tumblr bans its own users. In 2013, Tumblr was the king of cool. Yahoo bought it for $1.1 billion. It was a chaotic home for artists and memes. The weird side of the internet, corporate owners got nervous. They wanted it safe for advertisers. At first, they thought they were cleaning up. Well, in 2018, Tumblr banned adult content. The problem? They banned everything else too. Broken Em On I flagged desert sand. It even banned elbows. Bosses thought quality users would stay. Then reality hit. The garden was empty. They lost 30% of traffic in 2 months. Users didn't just leave, they vanished. The $1.1 billion company sold in 2019. Final price, less than $3 million. They didn't fail because of a rival. They failed because they fired their own audience. Tumblr fired their users to save their image, but our next giant spent billions to build the Netflix of gaming, then pulled the plug before the first level was over. Google quits on gamers. In 2019, Google wanted to own gaming. They launched a service called Stadia. It was Netflix for video games. No consoles, no downloads, just streaming. Google promised to change gaming. Gamers were curious. At first, they threw money at the problem. Google spent billions on servers. They paid developers for ports. They built their own studios. And then came the mistake. They charged full price for games you didn't own. If the internet died, your library vanished. Then reality hit. Google has a killing habit. Gamers knew the meme. Trust never showed up. Google pulled the plug before level 1. In 2023, Stadia was dead. Refunds went out. They didn't fail because the tech was bad. They failed because you can't buy a community with a credit card. But our final giant thought they could force the world into electric cars, only to watch their parking lots fill up with vehicles nobody wanted. Stellantis bets on the wrong cars. In 2021, a new giant was born, Stellantis. They owned Jeep, Ram, and Dodge. They were the masters of the American road. But the bosses had a vision. They wanted to go all in on electric vehicles. They forgot fans wanted V8 engines and mud. At first, the spreadsheets looked perfect. They promised to kill off iconic gas engines. They replaced the roaring Dodge Charger with a battery. Bosses bragged about sustainability to investors. They thought they can force the market to change. They ignored the people buying the cars. They chose the future over their customers. Then reality hit. The buyers didn't show up. Dealer lots became graveyards for unsold EVAS. Profits crashed by 48% in a single year. The CEO had to admit they were arrogant. Now they're scrambling to bring back gas engines. They didn't fail because the cars were slow. They failed because they flew a spreadsheet, not a passion.